we at Debate Amongst Friends want to extend our sincere care out to those impacted by Hurricane Ida out in the state of Louisiana. Especially given the circumstances of when it occurred and the significance of another storm that impacted the same area.
Yeah, I think they said this morning that it was a Category 4 with Category 5 potential. So hopefully it doesn't escalate to that. Definitely sending our well wishes. If you'd like to get involved, of course, I'm pretty sure FEMA and some other organizations are offering opportunities to donate. I'm sure there'll also be some people that may want to travel down and help with those repair and restoration efforts.
Absolutely.
But we'll definitely keep them in our prayers and keep them lifted as they recover. Not just New Orleans, but that particular region hit by those particular storms. Every hurricane season is always, you just never know what we're going to get. But we had a lot of football news. Speaking of the hurricane that does move the New Orleans Saints from their stadium of practice to the Dallas Cowboys stadium, which is pretty awesome for the Cowboys to, allow the New Orleans Saints to come out there and practice at their facility. But that's pretty awesome. But in other news here, former Tampa Bay receiver, also former Jets receiver, Brashad Perriman, released by the Lions. He did sign a 1-year deal for $2.5 million, but unfortunately was cut this morning. We'll see where the veteran receiver ends up. He had a great showing in Tampa 2 years ago when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin got hurt. Obviously, he cashed in and went to the Jets on a short-term deal, only to be let go again due to injuries. But now the veteran receiver is out there. We'll see who's going to pick him up. At least his contract was guaranteed, so he did get that $2 million, which is awesome.
This is true.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Ravens lose J.K. Dobbins for the season with a torn ACL, which also stinks. Right now, they're looking at who's going to be the replacement. I heard inklings of a Todd Gurley bringing, but I think they're going to go with Gus Edwards, which is a smart thing to do.
I think so, too. Gus Edwards is a really good running back.
Yeah, I like Gus Edwards. And it's time to give somebody a young opportunity. I did like Justin Hill. He's also someone that I thought was going to get an increased role before Dobbins got there, but they kind of blew it, in my opinion. But I'm hoping that he does get a shot.
I can agree with that.
So a week and a half ago, we talked about Jamal Adams getting the bag, and another safety now who I think is higher than Jamal Adams. I'm going to keep pressing that gas, no brakes. But Harrison Smith of the Minnesota Vikings gets a 4-year, $64 million extension, making him this says highest paid NFL, highest paid safety. So he did get more than Adams. So when I first saw the report, it said that he was the second highest. But again, I saw
the second highest, but they're talking about what he's going to receive this upcoming season, which is the highest for a safety in NFL.
So they're just trying to give him little baby cookies to make it seem like he's the highest paid now.
Exactly. But it's all about
okay. So he's going to get $15.3 million a year from 2022 to 2024.
Yeah,
and that's going to
this upcoming season he's getting
22.5. Gotcha. And then $26.38 million in guaranteed money. His guarantee is really where it's all at. He's 32 years old, which I didn't even know he was that old. I remember him playing at Notre Dame, and I didn't think he was that old yet, but he's still playing at a fantastic level. And I think this contract may if he chooses to, not be his last. The Jets acquired Shaq Lawson from the Texans in a trade. Apparently, Shaq Lawson was upset, like most people are in Houston. I know I'm usually pretty upset with Houston.
That darn succubus.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking to Johnny yesterday about Shaqs, and I think I got it wrong. So there's only two Shaqs. There's Shaq Lawson and there's Shaq Barrett.
Yep.
But there's two Lawsons. Carl Lawson, who the Jets already had on their roster, and Shaq Lawson, who they just obtained via Houston. The Jets are sending a 2022 sixth-round pick, which initially belonged to San Francisco, in order to get the 27-year-old defensive end. Shaq Lawson always been a pretty solid pass rusher, obviously a first-round pick of the Bills. I think with the Jets and what they are doing, and ironically, I've been watching their little docuseries that they have online. I think it's called First Flight or something like that.
First Flight.
And it's really good. And it actually follows some of the veterans, some of the people. And the Jets have a lot of redemption stories. I'm really excited for Saleh and what he's doing his first year. I really, really love what he's bringing. And I've always been excited for him as a coach. So I'm hoping that the Jets do well. Obviously not beat the Bucs if we're playing this year, but you know what I mean. Another injury news, the Colts are losing both T.Y. Hilton and Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah.
So that's going to hurt that quarterback room. I know they obviously had Wentz and his injury, and now Ehlinger goes down, so the pressure goes to Jacob Eason if Carson Wentz is not ready to go. Ehlinger, who is an EFL quarterback,
Yes.
went 3 for 3, 63 yards, including a beautiful 60-yard pass against Detroit before going down with his injury. So he was cooking. Then they had to, take him out, right? But at least he didn't get a full-blown ACL. It's kind of more of a, he might have tweaked it. He might miss some weeks. They might, put him on that temporary IR.
Yep.
With the ACL sprain. So that's
big credit to NFL for, not trying to force players to rush right back, which only can, re-aggravate or make their injuries even worse. So, I know we don't give the NFL a lot of credit for a lot of things that they do. Yeah. We do give them credit for this at least.
Facts. And T.Y. Hilton has a neck injury, and his timetable hasn't been announced just yet, but he's dealing with a disc issue.
Maybe up to like week 5, week 6.
Which makes sense. So they might IR him, right? They might IR him.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. So surprise, surprise. The guy who said he didn't even want to take a number 2 to be number 2, which for those who need explanation, he didn't want to take a dump because he thought just taking the number 2, the dump, would allow him or not allow him an opportunity to be number 1. But we knew he was going to be number 1. Gardner Minshew has been traded to the Eagles for a conditional 6th-round pick in 2022, which gives them good depth behind, a young quarterback, obviously in Hurts. The team also released fellow EFL quarterback Nick Mullins.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Mullins, obviously he played some really, really good football for them 49ers. They bring in Minshew. Minshew could push Hurts in a way that Mullins couldn't. I could see Minshew possibly getting the nod if Jalen Hurts struggles, but I wouldn't expect the Eagles to do anything rash because you don't want to hurt the confidence.
Do something rash.
Yikes.
And did I not say weeks ago?
You did.
When Urban Meyer was talking so highly of Gardner Minshew, I said he is just buttering up his draft stock.
He didn't really
trade stock.
He didn't do a great guy. He only had 6 rounds.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's all he was doing. Like, come on.
Yeah. But outside of that, I did see one other thing before we get into this NFL top 100 list where we're going through the top 10. Bears are considering trading Nick Foles. They're listening to offers for Nick Foles. Obviously, they have Andy, the Red Rocket, Dalton, and Justin Fields. They're like, do we really need Nick Foles in the fold when we have these two other quarterbacks? And, Nick's a winner. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see, New England get into the fold of this one with everything going on with Cam. Maybe a few other teams.
Incredible game yesterday.
Again, I like Mac Jones. I think he has the potential to be one of the better quarterbacks that Alabama's ever put out. You know how I feel about Alabama quarterbacks, but he has a chance.
Not as much as how you feel about USC quarterbacks, folks.
Tomato. In my opinion, tomato. But we'll see what happens with Nick Foles. But Johnny, we hit the nail on the head, man, with these top 10, nailing practically all of them, if not all of them.
We had them all. We had all 10. You want me to say what helped us out when we kept considering whether or not we wanted to add Breeze? And we
Very true.
TJ Watt. That was the only thing that would have screwed us over.
That's true. Well, let's talk about number 1. Let's go 1 through 10.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, we're not talking about the Super Bowl performance because that was an anomaly. We're talking about his play.
Anomaly, but sure.
It was. No, it was an anomaly. I mean, it was like the exception to the rule kind of thing. I mean, Tampa had a great plan. And they executed it perfectly. That's what I'm saying.
That's preparation into execution.
No. Because even great preparation can be torched. He could have torched it still.
Yeah, he could have torched him, but you know what? We're not.
That's the anomaly part. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, not big up Tampa because I want them. I don't want them to get it.
I'm not trying to downplay what the defense did of Tampa Bay.
Nah. I'm gonna downplay it. They did it. They did it. But he 4,700 yards, 38 touchdowns, 15 games, 14-1, led the Chiefs to their third straight AFC West title and a second Super Bowl appearance. Young Patrick Mahomes, who, obviously now looking at it, looking like a steal for the Chiefs, where so many other teams chose other quarterbacks. Andy Reid was like, I need that guy that looks like he can really sling it. He can run. He can pass. He's looking like a regular old Booby Miles out there. And he can throw. But number 2, Aaron Donald. He was number
hands down
3.
One of the best football players on the planet.
And honestly, that goes back to what you just said about the Tampa Bay defense. Aaron Donald, his greatest strength is his preparation and his work ethic.
Yep.
I feel like he had the work ethic of a young J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt didn't do anything but work on his craft. And here you got Aaron Donald working on his craft all the time.
I did have a question for you because during this, because I watched the entire thing, I wanted to get your take on what one of the players said.
Sure.
He said Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in NFL history.
If we're talking about, it depends on what they were talking about. Did they say anything else?
They said defensive player in NFL history. All positions, all errors. Aaron Donald's number 1. I wanted to get your take on that.
I wouldn't agree.
This is live, folks.
Yeah, this is live.
He was not prepared for this question.
I wasn't prepared, and I like it that way. But no, I wouldn't agree. He's great. He's a great player. I don't think he's underrated because I think everybody that lines up against him has a specific strategy to try to contain him. But no, he's definitely one of the best defensive linemen of all time. He is one of the best defensive players of all time. But I don't know if I would say he's number 1 because there are some really, really good players that have come across those lines and they've made the same leaps. Now, will I say he's one of the most consistent players of all time, probably yes. One of the most consistent defensive linemen of all time, yes. I mean, he brings it every play. But stat-wise, if we're looking at stats, I wouldn't agree. But performance and persistence and commitment, consistency, maybe. Top, I'll just say 50.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll say 50.
I'm just going to add that as a note.
Yep, Doc said top 50. So Aaron Rodgers, number 3. He actually moved up 13 slots. So I don't remember what his 2019 season, if it was that bad. I don't remember it being 13 bad, but he moved up 13 slots.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's all right. I mean, obviously, he had a chip on his shoulder. He's 37 years old. Obviously, we know.
What was that we kept saying all last season? Pissed off Aaron Rodgers.
Right, which we'll see how it is this year. I mean, he missed a lot of time. He missed a lot of, connection. He got injuries to his receiver core. Obviously, there was no receivers, or there was no receiver or skill player drafted in the first round. We know all of it. So we'll see how he really does. Number 4. Oh, King Henry, who I think is number 4
Aaron
based
Rodgers
on the
last year was 16.
Yeah, he went up 13 slots.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out why, but it probably doesn't really show. I mean, obviously this year he MVP, almost 4,300 yards. Obviously he almost threw 50 touchdowns. The 5 interceptions, 2 of them came against Tampa, and then, the other 3 were just kind of scattered, right? I'm sorry.
No, he's not. He's not sorry to say that at all. Continue, sir.
But yes, King Henry had an opportunity to really open some eyes, and it's going down as one of the best Alabama running backs.
Yep.
Of all time, even in a short period, obviously with the likes of Trent Richardson, coming before him, Mark Ingram, and a couple others. Derrick Henry again, and I guess the trend I'm seeing with these people is that they're all prepared, like they work so hard at their craft. And I watched Derrick Henry workouts, and I'm like, that guy, he's like practicing giving you a stiff arm in his workout. And it's amazing when you see it, because I mean, he's like he's on a balancing ball. He's got a medicine ball in one arm, and he's got this guy like shoving something at him. He's just like pushing him. It's nuts to see, but the preparation of, hey, those corners and those linebackers, okay, guess what? You guys are going to get these hands.
Wow. Wow. I don't think he's allowed to say that anymore, actually. So.
Who, Braun?
Yeah.
He might change it. He'll come up with something good.
It's something. But number 5.
Last year, I was gonna say number 18 last year, moved up to number 5. The newly shaven Travis Kelce, who looks like a completely different player. Hopefully, he can play with the same
level.
Yeah, as the bearded Kelce. 31-year-old. Great season, 1,400 yards.
Was talking about who was the best tight end in football. I mean, of course, this list isn't a exact representation, so you can't say Kelce's the best because, of course, Kittle was out. And India, we had some emergence of some other tight ends as well last season as well.
Yeah, Darren Waller and a few other people,
But, I mean, he is, top 3 tight end.
And honestly, when you look at the young tight ends, Evan Ingram, even an OJ Howard, and a couple of others.
Went down with injury too last night too.
He did. That's right. So you look at those people, and you look at somebody like Gronk and Jared Cook and some of those older tight ends, and you see a lot of potential. And I guess that's why we were talking about, like the Bucs keeping OJ and a couple other tight ends that Kittle. We talked about Kittle potentially being let go. We talked about Zach Ertz, right, being let go. So it's like you just don't know what you're going to get out of these tight ends. But Kelsey's been consistent.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a great weapon, and they have a 3, 4, 5-man punch. Nice little combo. And they have another probably 3 to 4 year window with everybody intact.
Absolutely.
Because money's getting funny there. Number 6, moving up.
You're talking about preparation.
51 slots.
Yep.
Davante Adams, arguably top 5, top 10 receiver in the game right now. I don't think he gets the love because I don't know why he doesn't get the love.
Because I think last season everyone was going over Goo Gaga over Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. He should get more love, though. Michael Thomas runs a lot of slants. I mean, he ran a lot of slants. I don't know. Davante Adams does it all. He runs a great post. He runs a great goal. He can get the ball. I mean, whatever you ask him to do, he does it.
His radius of catching is incredible.
This line that it says here is perfect. The versatile pass catcher does it all, despite the grand attention he gets from opposing defenses.
Yep.
That's a great statement there. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And that's a true number 1, and that's what differentiates him from other receivers. But
we have another one to talk about, but we'll get to him in a second.
Oh, we do. We really do. I'm surprised Davante's ahead of him, honestly, but we're going to get to it after we talk about the GOAT, the righty, Mr. 99 Super Bowl rings himself.
Well, Mr. 7 Super Bowl rings, who's number 7 on this list. Or how apropos that he's number 7, Tom Brady,
right?
Who Doc mentioned throughout all of the season, he had an incredible season.
He did. 4,600 yards.
Despite the woes of the offensive line for the first 6 games, was it?
No,
first
maybe
it was after the Chicago game.
I think it was just the Chicago game. It really was, because I felt that they did pretty good. Actually, no, I wouldn't say it's the first 5 weeks.
I mean, you can't say that. Like, you kept saying they're buns.
So listen, this is what I'm going to say. I'll say the Saints games and the Bears game. Those are the only games I can say that we really. I don't think that was so the offensive line of that game, it wasn't really they were bad. That whole team was just sloppy. Both of those 2 games, the team was just sloppy as a whole. But after that is when we kind of came into our own. But with Tom Brady throwing 4,600 yards, 40 touchdowns, I mean, and not really even knowing the playbook fully.
Yeah.
I think that's where, I guess the surprise comes in. Obviously, he's, number 7, moved up, 7 slots. That's pretty funny. So he's number 7, moving up 7 slots. Yeah, 7 Super Bowls. The guy is just, embracing the 7. But I mean, he had a great season. I'm really happy for him. Happy for the Bucs, of course. Number 8, who I think should probably switch with Davante here, Deandre Hopkins. 115 receptions, 1,400 yards. He becomes the 49th receiver in history to surpass the 10,000-yard mark. He scored. I guess the reason why he's here is he only scored 6 touchdowns. Obviously, Davante Adams had 18 touchdowns, but I think personally in that offense, I think DeAndre just getting 1,400 yards is pretty impressive. They don't throw it like that, in my opinion. And when they do, they throw it to DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. I mean, his first game as a Cardinal, he got 14 receptions, which was incredible.
Yeah. It's unimaginable what he does there. And I think they're going to get better. Obviously, now they have another target. They have some better weapons. So, and they still trying to figure out if they're going to get Larry Fitzgerald back. So,
I think he'll still come back.
I mean, does he really have a role, I guess, is what he's trying to figure out. Like, does he really have something? Does he have a role there, I guess is my question.
I think they'll find a way. Like, the better teams find a way.
True. But moving on to number 9 here, moving up 16 slots from number 25, we have JJ's brother, T.J. Watt, who's making a name for himself.
Yes.
He's entering a contract year, but the guy stays in the top 5, top 10 in sacks and pressures. He is absolutely dominant. He's 26 years old. The Steelers, they have no choice but to pay this man.
Yep.
Yeah, because you don't want to let him go. And he come to anywhere, whether it be, there's a lot of teams that are hungry to throw money at young defensive ends / pass rushers. I think the Patriots come to mind. The Browns come to mind.
Yeah.
The Giants, like those teams that just throw money at defensive players. Like, I think he'll get paid. They shouldn't play this game with him.
No.
Just listen, just take a piece of paper, right? A little check about this size, and just slide it
right
over.
across the table. Yeah. TJ, here's a blank check. You write the number.
This is what we're thinking, right? So here's what we're thinking, right? This is what we're thinking, right? And then here's a blank check. Let's see how close we can get. You know what I'm saying? Because that's it right there. But I'm sure he'll give the PC answer and say that my agent is handling that. And last, moving up, probably the most significant, 77 slots.
Yep.
Josh Allen, who almost 4,600 yards, 37 touchdowns with 8 rushing touchdowns. Obviously, he had nothing but career highs. The Bills ran out of steam in the AFC Championship game. It was really rough to watch, but
it was definitely their conference to lose. Right.
And they balled out. And I think he's a great young quarterback, somebody that the Bills can really build around.
Wasn't it so funny how, like, last season people were, not the season that we just finished, but the previous season about that, let's talk about, is Josh Allen the bust?
Yeah, and busts it's too early, for anybody.
Way too early.
And honestly, sometimes you have to just give people an opportunity. But then again, that goes back to what we say about the media, right? Like, giving, fishing for stories and, trying to find something. But it's all good. It's all good. Josh Allen did his thing. But, Johnny, I know you heard this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. But if you didn't, you can always go to our website at www.debateamongstfriends.com to listen to this episode as well as all of the previous. Be sure to tune in Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we go over the news, the analysis, and the read.